Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 507. Would it be? Recording on a Tuesday because I was too sick to record this weekend. And maybe too sick to record now, whatever. Am I hoping that I'll feel better by Friday? Yeah. Am I sure it's gonna happen? No. um, but such is life. So what I'm doing right now is one of my knitting needles dropped on the floor of my bedroom, thankfully. So I'm just going to transfer these stitches back, so I'm resuming work over 5 needles instead of 4. Not that it's too crazy, but I think it makes it more pleasant that way. So I am working on the Hexagon socks by Kristen Hall. I'm knitting them out of Volmisa Red Hot Chili. I'm just taking a moment to make sure we're at the halfway point. I think we're good. Cool. So we're back. We're back. These are for my spouse. It feels like there's a strange number of stitches here, but I don't know, we'll get it all worked out. So I have finished the cuff, which was pretty short and simple here. And I am currently working on the toe, which is making a very lovely spiral pool right now. I am decreasing a bunch of stitches away in order to make the toe. So I had to knit plain for about an inch in order to, or I had to knit according to the pattern for about an inch or so. Just to get the right amount of length. And I'm now doing the toe decreases, which should be fun. Yeah, this is not a decrease row. So, would be. But I decided that I did want to get at least one sock entirely finished, so that I could, would it be, feel like I had done stuff. um, it's all good. The project is a little bit chaotic, just because, like, these needles are really sharp. So I feel like I have to be very careful when putting it in my bag, and sometimes I am not, and I feel like I'm gonna get burned at some point by carelessness and lose one of my magnificently rare signature size 0 double point. And then it'd be the case where I just always think of the line in Kill Bill where it's like, and it could cut God. And I'm like, yeah, these needles can. So, would it be? I really love them a lot, but they are a little bit terrifying at the same time. So, oh yeah, this is definitely not where we wanted it to be. I guess I haven't done a full round of knitting since what would it be? The problem is if I'm careless about putting them away in my bag, then the needles will come out, basically. They will stick into something, and that something will hold them more dearly than this sock does, so alas. So, what would it be? But yeah, I don't know why it is that I'm just not taking like the extra time to make sure that everything is nicely contained. So, and we can just demonstrate that fast because it shouldn't be too crazy. So, I've reached the end of my needle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my project, put it flat basically. Then I'm going to fold it in half. Then I'm going to take my spare needle and pierce the sock a little bit. And then the final flourish is wrapping the yarn around the needles a couple of times just to keep it all contained. And then I think that makes it a little bit less prone to destruction. But who knows? It still feels like it's gonna pierce through my bag and that these needles will probably eventually destroy this bag that I love. But whatever, such is life. So my other project yeah, I'm unsure how far I've come since the last time that I showed it off. But I am still working on the second sleeve of my Nightfall or Skumring cardigan. This is designed by Skein Deer. I'm knitting it in Ramel Phenol Garn in 6 different shades of teal, and I am very close to being done. So this little marker right here I put down so that I would not need to recount in the darkest foresty green yarn too many more times. That I had 10 rows left to do on the sleeve. So, and then I did also feel very silly because I think it must have been, like, I ended up trying it on, I think, like last Monday. And so then it was the case where I got out my extra, my ribbing size needle, and then I slip stitches onto my ribbing size needle, and I had knit a lot of ribbing without knitting with that needle. So, and like I was about near, whatever, close to as far as where I am right now. Probably about when I put the marker in to stop needlessly counting all the time. And I docked myself off the ledge. I didn't rip back all of the ribbing with its decreases. Even though I'd knit it with the 3mm needle instead of whatever size this one is, 2.5mm needle. and it doesn't seem to have made a huge difference, but I'm now knitting on the ribbing needle to finish this. It's fine. It doesn't seem like it's too crazy off. So we're just gonna go with it. Whatever. The sleeves have been filled with all sorts of, whatever. So much drama in these sleeves. I am over it. But I only have like a few more rows to go before I'm done working on them. And I can move on with my life. As you do. So what would be? I haven't had like a ton of knitting mojo the past few weeks, so it's probably fine. This probably is a perfectly great speed for me, but whatever. This at some point will be the little cardigan jacket of my dreams. But not this week. Considering that I still have a pretty decent amount of the body to knit as well. It may be a little while, and I don't know if it'll end up going more smoothly when I'm working on bigger rounds again. I don't know. It probably means I should be working on the sock if I want to cast on the scarf. But we're close. So close. It's like, but yeah, if it turns out that the one is infinitesimally larger than the other, that's probably fine. But we're like nearly there. Maybe even a little bit past. I don't know, that's the other problem, right? Because it may be that my row gauge was different, not my stitch gauge, because this would indicate that I should probably bind off now, or was supposed to be binding off the last row. So whatever, it's fine. The home internet is out, so that also motivates me to podcast. I keep getting notifications on my computer that I could join my phone's hotspot, but it's not that big of an emergency. So it's okay. I guess we can check and see if there are no clarifying questions. Yep, it's okay. So that's the knitting. I feel like I'm not close to finishing either project right now, but it's fine. I do have 3 hexagons out of 24 done on the second sock. It's fine. And I am getting close to entirely using up another ball of yarn, so I hope I don't run into a situation where I hope I don't run into a situation where I like needed to have knit longer in each of the colors in my sweater. I would hate to be on another epic with that one. So it's fine. So while my knitting isn't super exciting to me right now, nothing like holding sweater sleeves up at the same time, being like, it's fine. I have actually been fairly productive with spinning. So last time I was probably showing you, I don't know, if the screen grab is to be believed, I was working on the purple color of my rainbow, and I am excited to say my rainbow is now complete. I'm gonna regret tossing that out of reach. So, it's not like there is. It's not like there is a perfect way of doing this, anyways. But here is my 8 skein rainbow. So it is like about 700 some grams of yarn. We can fact check this quickly. Probably. Alright. So 730 grams of yarn, 2,308 yards total. I was getting super confused with the grist calculations, and then I had to remember that not all these skeins were 100 grams. Maybe only the green is. Maybe, I don't know, maybe another one is too, but they're all between like, I don't know, 80 and 100 grams. And that was just for the rainbow. I think in hindsight, I could have gone away with what is it? I probably could have gone away with being even more even with everything, because I think it did end up turning out pretty nice. And then I'm getting caught by like the mirror of the screen. So like overall, like we definitely have like pretty decent jewel tones going on. The skeins that were probably the hardest to put together were probably the red, orange, and yellow. I feel like the pink, purple, blue, teal, and green were all pretty easy, and that probably has to do with my base fiber. So this had about 4 ounces of, what would it be? Looks like, what does it say? So it had the Allegheny Fiber Arts, and it was Corriedale. And so this colorway was Mountain Awakening, and it was from my spinning class this summer at SSK, where I forgot to bring a braid of fiber with me. Um, Whatever. And so that's why, and so it had sort of these colors, but maybe a little bit less bright. So somewhere, whatever. It was like a grayish blue teal color. And then I took fiber pool minis from like maybe like 2 years of SSK. Maybe. Um, and then pretty much every extra fiber sample I had from all sorts of classes. Not my October bats, we'll get to that. And then I divided them into 8 groups, stored them away in plastic bags, and then drum carded them as I sort of came along in the project. So, teal was the first one, then I did green, yellow, orange, red, pink, purple, and then blue was my last one. So this one was one that hadn't even been made into bat form since the last episode. And then I don't know if this one was in bat form either. I feel like I did these like within 2 weeks pretty easy. So there seem to be like really good blends. So this one definitely has um like there's a little bit of fun pink in this purple one. Um and then what would it be? Like I'm really happy with how this all turned out. Um what would it be? So I do need to wash them all. Um and that will probably end up decreasing my yardage a smidge, I'm assuming. Um, but then probably boosting my intention of having thicker yarn, because you know what? It's two-ply sport, friends. I did all the grist calculations. It's 350 yards per 100 grams. And are all of them a little bit different? Yeah, probably. Am I going to use them all in a project? I hope so. Um, like I feel like this should be a sweater. Um, it was like logistically, is that gonna be pretty chaotic? Probably. But we'll see. Like it could end up being like a pretty big sweater, all things considered, because like 2,300 yards of sport weight's like quite a bit of yarn. Um, as you do. Um, so we'll have to see what I end up or how everything ends up working out there. Um, but like would be, and it would be the case where like I put a lot of brown in this one, and so like it definitely like these two are definitely pretty dark overall. Even though there was like a lot of like purple. Um, like what it ended up blending in was pretty deep. Um, yeah. But like this one was the one where I had to throw in the most other colors, but it's still yellow. So we're going with it. Um, whereas like this green guy here probably excuse me. It was like this probably had the most of the Gorydale. So I was able to split the other one or the other sort of colors in that braid between the blues and then the teal and the red. So, and then these guys were all just made from just what I had picked up in the pool. So, yay! Um, so rainbow is complete. Am I ready to start a sweater? No. Do I need to do a bunch of washing? Probably. Do I have to do a bunch of washing anyways? Maybe. It's fine. Um, I don't know, if I feel up to it today, I will. So, it makes me happy. Um, and then it is like really good news for like relaxing and spinning thick, and I definitely was wobbling a bit with maybe getting closer to default weight, so I'll just keep, I'll have to keep working on it. Um, so, as I was finishing this up, I think I actually ended up like counting it with DPN. We were working on counting. Um, And then since we were in the room, he ended up selecting my next spinning project because I'm like, whatever, like I don't really care. And so what he ended up doing was he ended up gravitating to the bats that I had made this October in my JC Boggs core spinning class. All right, well, bring that one closer in. So, I ended up starting that. And what I'm waiting on is I need to figure out um, how I want to finish, but it will have to come off the bobbin. But then it's really easy to use like the spinning wheel as like a lazy Kate. Um, so I think what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have to wind it and then decide how I'm finishing it a little bit later. Um, but this was the rainbow bat that I ended up putting together. Because at some point, like in the class, I'm like, all right, like I may as well just make as many bats as I can, and have someone around to ask questions. Um, because like, what would it be like? Core spinning and bats like go together, so perfectly. Um, so what I need to decide, and I actually put it up as a question to my knitting group actually, is um if I should ply it back on itself or if I should ply it with my core yarn, which is the Zephyr, um, or if I should go buy some thread, um, and then I can thread ply it. But whew, whatever, it might end up being quite the journey in order to do that, so we'll see. Um, basically, um, and why would it end? Whatever. It's just the case where um, I am not sure what, or I'd have to figure out like what store I would be able to buy that type of thread and whether or not I could get um, like a cone of it instead of small bobbins. So I ended up doing a thing. You have it? It's super handy. Um, so when I ended up doing my Kiviot project, like I went to Joann's and I ended up buying the little spools of silk thread, but then I had to keep going back and buying more. So I feel like I would rather just have like a lot of silk instead of a little bit. Or if I want to do something else entirely. And then like my cone of Zephyr is huge. Um, so I am not concerned about running out of my Zephyr. Um, like it's a pound, like at least a pound of lace weight yarn, so it's gonna hold me for a great many projects, but it'll be sad because they don't make it anymore. And it's a 50/50 wool silk, so definitely would it be lovely, lovely yarn, and we'll just be sad that it's gone. So that was one of them, but the next one that I'm going to do is this guy. Um, so this one has plies of yarn, I think, from the yarn that I ended up doing my water bearer in. was like a Madeline Tosh that had 50 bajillion skein ties on it, and so I decided to incorporate the skein ties as thread in this bat, and then the base of the bat is some merino that was given as a sample for people who rode the bus to Lambtown, that non-spinners didn't want to keep. So this is, or whatever, so merino fleece, and then the merino yarn, and it definitely needs to be coarse spun, so I'm gonna do that next because it's probably time. And then there's just like, it's hard to tell if like what I'm seeing is like some of it is just like the reflection, or whether or not like it did end up sort of blending interesting. And then like I had like the Carter waist that I had pulled off, so I'll probably start with that and then incorporate the rest of it. But it's very soft, very spongy. So that's gonna be my next spin after I get this one off. So I already have the ball winder set up, so I will wind that off and wait a little bit to make my blind decision, I guess. I don't think I would combine them. I honestly have no clue about the weight, so it's fine. I think they'll just be separate yarns. And would be, and then it'll be, I think it'll be a lot of fun to course spin. And then I have two more bats to go. So one of them was like a dare about like basically like how much silk could I dump into a bat. And then this is like a little bit asymmetric. I'll have to find my sample and figure out what I ended up doing. I think this one is more blended and this one is less blended, basically. But yeah, so they probably don't go together. I can try to figure out what in the world I did with the first guy. Like, it would be nice to have like a project's amount, but then also I sometimes don't know what to do with the coarse spun yarn. So, like, I think it turns out very magical, but then also it's like a bit more delicate. So, I don't know. We'll get it figured out. But then also I'm implementing the best thing you can do with coarse spun is make sure you're spinning on the jumbo. Definitely, because it definitely can take up quite a lot of volume overall. So I'm gonna be busy with that. It's probably not gonna make my thumb feel super great, but what is nice is that at the very least it's um, running through some of like the more volume intensive spinning stash, at least for a little bit. And then also just getting practice not spinning super duper fine. So that all seems pretty worthy. Um, and then it might be the case where I decide to, what would it be? So, it might be the case where I decide to start another big spin. We'll see how it goes. Like there are like a couple of options. Um, I don't know, or would it be, and it would be the case where it's like, okay, like if I'm able to spin thicker, do I like choose to try whatever to combine a couple of things together. And how exactly I want to go about doing that. We'll see. So, would it be like if I'm doing a project and I actually want it to be like a 3-ply, but then it was like I might need to add a braid in order to make that all work. I don't know. We'll see. It's like not the case where I want to. Would it be? um, like I do want to make sure that whatever, because it'd be the case where, like, if I was spinning super duper fine, then yeah, sure, 3 braids would probably be fine. But if I'm not spinning so fine, then maybe I need to add something else. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Or I need to like do a little sample. I don't know. I'm not sure. So, what would it be? So the last thing that I want to cover is like, so last weekend was local yarn shop day and I did not participate because I was sick. But I had participated accidentally the previous weekend. So I was in the neighborhood and I decided to spend my $10 off that I'd won on my lucky dip at Firebird, and I picked up 4 skeins of this like cotton linen DK. And what would it be? It was just the case where I was so excited. Yeah. So 275 yards per 100 grams. And it's 77% cotton, 23% linen. And you can sort of tell because the linen and the cotton don't quite take the dye the same. And it was only when I got home that I realized that like this is also like a blue leaning charcoal. So I was just so excited that there was like cotton and linen yarn that has saturated colors. So the plan is to make a tea of some sort. And pattern unknown, but I just really liked these colors together. I tried to pick a not blue color, but I definitely liked blue the best, so it's fine. And it probably would have made more sense to use that $10 off on some small item, but I was just so excited about saturated not wool yarn. And we'll see if my poor arm can handle it. I definitely love my not wool items. And if I was 100% of the time in San Francisco, it would be all wool all the time. But when I go down to work, like maybe only half the year it's okay to wear wool. So whatever, it's fine. Okay. Well, that might be my body's sign that we have to sign off. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I will talk to you guys again in about 2 weeks. All right, take care, guys. Bye bye.